Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu amma ba'du fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir Yasin wal Quranil Hakim innaka laminal mursalin ala siratin mustaqim tanzilal azizir rahim litunzira qauman ma unzira aba'uhum fahum ghafilun لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. Today I am going to share a story with you. A story of an individual inspired by true events. The verses that I have just recited are taken from chapter 36 of the Holy Quran, which is known as Surah Yasin. Surah Yasin is that chapter of the Holy Quran which is recited when someone is passing away. This is the story of Abdullah. Abdullah's mother with teary eyes is reciting these verses while he is on a hospital bed. Just a week ago, he was having the time of his life, having the best time of his life actually, with his friend Derek. They were coming back and they met an accident. Their car was struck from behind, sending them spiraling in air. Their car hit the guardrail. They were also overspeeding. Several cops and ambulances have already shown up. They have taken them both to the hospital. Abdullah can clearly hear what's happening in the adjacent room. He can hear doctors trying to revive Derek. They just lost Derek. He's gone, dead. Now doctors are trying to save Abdullah. He's losing too much blood too fast. He's going into comatose. His family was just called by the doctors to say their final goodbyes to Abdullah. His mother is crying, and out of anguish and deep sadness, she is reciting Surah Yasin, with which I started my today's speech. Abdullah cannot open his eyes, but he can hear his mother. And he starts to get these flashbacks of his life. He remembers when he was a young tifl, going with his father to the mosque, attending the Atfal classes. But his memory takes him back when he was 16 years of age. It was a Friday. That was the Friday when he skipped the first Jummah of his life because he wanted to spend time with Derek. That very day, Derek told him to ask a beautiful girl from his class to ask him so that he can ask her for the homecoming next week. He came home, had the biggest argument with his mother and father. Biggest argument you can imagine. Obviously, his parents did not approve of it because it says in the Holy Quran, مُحْصَنَاتٍ غَيْرَ مُصَافِحَاتٍ وَلَا مُتَّخِذَاتِ أَخْدَانٍ, that believers are those who marry with the right intentions and they do not have these secret paramours, girlfriend or boyfriend. Chapter 4, verse 26 of the Holy Quran. But he went ahead anyways. He asked the girl to the homecoming. After all, it's his life and he should be able to do whatever he wants, right? That's exactly what Derek told him. He is getting these flashbacks while he's on his deathbed. He remembers the time when he had to apply for colleges. He felt very confused and dazed about it. He was confused and dazed about it, yes. Rather than applying to colleges based on their merit and the programs they offered, he applied to colleges simply based on the fact, how far can he be from his parents and his family? He wanted to enjoy the American lifestyle, the typical dorm life. He lacked clarity of mind and guidance from his elders. Obviously, he's regretting now that he's on his deathbed, thinking that all those guys, all those people who were with him, his friends, his colleagues, back when he was at this level, they are in well-to-do places because they were in constant contact with Khalifatul Masih. But it's too late for him now. He remembers aiming for wealth so that he can buy all the things he ever wanted. To party on the weekends, to skip prayers. That's how it all starts. First you think that your home is too far from the mosque, and then slowly, you stop going to the mosque altogether. And then slowly, you stop reading prayers. So that's what he liked. To be away from family, to be away from Jamaat. Partying all weekend long, skipping prayers, missing Jummah months on at a time. Not having to pay any chanda to Jamaat. No financial donation whatsoever. Didn't have to come to mosque, and therefore he was absolutely not involved in his local masjids. Finally, he had his freedom, and he was enjoying it, or at least he thought he was. He remembers when he fell in love with a beautiful girl, whom he saw at a party, who later became his wife. He remembers the time when he started consuming alcohol because his friend told him so. He remembers the time when he started doing drugs because his friends were doing it. And he got in a lot of trouble because of that as well. Like for example, when he was driving and he was stopped for DUI and he had to spend a month in jail. That was the same time when his father passed away and he himself was behind bars. He could not attend his father's funeral nor his burial. A month later he came home to his mother, who was crying her heart out, embraced her son and told him something that he never forgot. She told him, "Dear son, the promised Messiah ﷺ has said, "Ae doston pyaro, ukba ko mat bisaro, kuch zyade raah le lo, kuch kaam mein guzaro. Duniya hai jaye fani, dil se isu." Promised Messiah ﷺ has stated, "My son, dear friends and my beloved, do not ruin your hereafter. This world is but a mortal place. Cleanse your heart of its desire and love." She said, "My dear son, those who follow this world blindly, regarding them Allah says in the Holy Quran, أَعْمَالُهُمْ كَسَرَابٍ بِقِيعَةٍ يَحْسَبُهُ الظَّمْآنُ مَاءً حَتَّى إِذَا جَاءَهُ لَمْ يَجِدْهُ شَيْئًا." Their deeds are like a mirage in a desert. The thirsty one thinks it to be water until when he comes up to it, he finds it to be nothing. Chapter 24, verse 40 of the Holy Quran. But you know what? He paid no heed whatsoever. He did not listen to her. أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرَ. The greed for more and more. And negligence has finally led you up to your graves. Now that his end seems to be inevitably imminent, he feels the shallowness of this life that he was blindly chasing, materialism. The words of Khalifatul Masih Rabi Rahimahullah Ta'ala ringing in his ears over and over and over again. That this is how all such materialistic societies end up. Islam's response to contemporary. They say that if you have to go through a maze, all you have to do is just follow the right side or the right wall in the maze and you will end up just fine. Abdullah forgot that he had the spiritual course to go through this maze of youth. It was Quran. All he had to do, just follow what it says in there. And it would have made him among those who are known as people of the right hand, the successful lot, as Quran says. But he did not listen. And here we are, listening to his story, while he is on his hospital bed, in his final moments, reminiscing the time when he married a girl for her good looks, who in turn married him for a luxurious lifestyle. He went against the advice of his brother to have a simple wedding. His brother said, have a simple wedding, He went against the advice of his brother and instead went all out of his ways and means, ended up under a huge debt and stress. Someone met our beloved Hazur, Ayatollah Ta'ala Minister Aziz, a few weeks ago, and shared this beautiful story with me, beautiful incident, something that happened in that room during the mulaqat. He asked Hazur, do you get stressed out? Hazur smiled and said, I don't get stressed out. When I'm about to get stressed out, I start talking to God. Abdullah forgot that the answer to stress and all the worries in life is prayers. Start talking to God. But he forgot that. And now it's too late. He also bought an extremely unaffordable and expensive car simply because his friends were having one. It was more of a status symbol for him than anything else. He did not need it. He was already under huge debt, but he had to get one because his friends had one. And then he learned the hard way. There was all a facade, beneath which an ugly reality lied awaiting. The girl whom he had married for her looks was in this relationship for wealth. Her personality ended up being not beautiful at all. And all the wealth that he had spent, or all the wealth that he had spent his prime in earning, it was all but lost. And now what remains is debt and frustration. And alas, there was no real peace in his life. If he had only listened to the prophetic words of Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Tunkahul mar'atu li arba'in limaliha," that you marry a girl, you marry a woman for 4 reasons. You marry her either because of her beauty or because of her lineage, her family background, her wealth, or her piety, righteousness, taqwa. Give preference to her righteousness, otherwise you will end up in a state of loss. Sahih Bukhari Kitab al-Nikah. His mind snaps back into reality for one moment. He can hear his family by his bedside. He can hear loud and clear his mother crying. Asking Allah for a miracle that now seems to be far-fetched, almost impossible. And maybe it was impossible. He is unable to open his eyes, but he can vividly hear them before he is drawn right back into his memory lane. The memories of a distant past, sour relationship with his family, failed marriage, reckless pursuit of materialism, flashes before his very eyes quickly. Now back from his cold memories of a life lost in maze and daze and confusion and stress that he spent in pursuit of vanity and profanity, he felt a sudden chill down his spine. He opened his eyes one last time, took a deep breath, and then he died. The greed for more and more has surely led you up to your graves. He was buried the next day. His mother and his family crying at his grave. Couldn't do anything to save him. While his soul departs into the afterlife. وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَإِذَا هُمْ مِنَ الْأَجْدَاثِ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَنْسِلُونَ. And then the trumpet was blown into, and people came out of their graves and started running towards their Lord. إِن كَانَتْ إِلَّا صَيْحَةً وَاحِدَةً فَإِذَا هُمْ جَمِيعٌ لَدَيْنَا مُحْضَرُونَ. And now they are standing before their God. Chapter 36, verses 50-54 of the Bible. After some time, his soul is woken up by a loud voice, and he starts to walk towards a huge ground where several people are gathered. And it just dawned on Abdullah. It's the judgment day. And he has nothing to show for it. He is ashamed for having wasted his entire life and is now scared because he does not know what is going to happen. He regrets for not having fully benefited from the Friday sermons of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Khamis, especially regarding self-reformation and moral and spiritual training, which Hazur delivered between 2013 and 2014. If only he had listened to those sermons and acted on them, he wouldn't be here. But it is finally too late. He is soon brought before Allah the Almighty for the judgment, and the verdict is passed down, condemned to hell. Hasaratin alayhim, regrets upon regrets. Imagine what Abdullah must be going through at that moment. Quran has actually presented that very picture before us. Hasaratin alayhim. The angels are dragging him to hellfire with a group of similar people, asking them, what has brought you into the hellfire? They will say, we were not of those who worship Allah, nor did we food the poor, and we indulged in vain talk with those who indulge therein, and we used to deny the day of judgment. Tallahi in kunna lafi dalalin mubin, إذ نسويكم برب العالمين وما ضلنا إلا المجرمون فما لنا من شافعين ولا صديق حميم فلو أن لنا كرة فنكون من المؤمنين. If we only get one shot, one more opportunity to go back, we will fix things up for ourselves. إن في ذلك لآية وما كان أكثرهم مؤمنين. But it does not work like that. The alarm clock just went off. It's still Friday. Abdullah is still 16. Today is the day when he's supposed to meet up with Derek, who is going to tell him to take that girl from his class to the homecoming next week. Today is the day when he is supposed to miss his first Jummah. Today is when he is supposed to have his first argument with his parents. Today is when he is supposed to disobey them. Today is the day when his life is supposed to become lopsided, dazed and confused. But he wipes his tears off from his face. He remembers the Arabic verses which he recited. He opens the Holy Quran and he finds those verses to be right there in his face. And he reads, by Allah, we were in manifest error when we held you as equal with the Lord of the worlds, and none led us astray but the guilty ones. And now we have no intercessors nor any loving friend. Would that there was for us a return to this world, that we might be among the believers. In this verily there is a sign, but most of these would not believe. And verily the Lord, He is the mighty, the most merciful. You know, in the verses it says, "Law anna lana karratan." If only I get one more shot to go back. It's too late for those people who are in the hereafter. So why is it that Allah the Almighty is mentioning this in the Holy Quran? It's for me and for you. Abdullah was scared, but happy at the same time, because he got what most people don't: a second chance. That dream was his wake-up call, and a sure hope that this speech becomes yours.